So this top five warrants our opening theme song from what is it? Thus Spake Zarathustra, or whatever it's called, from 2001.
Come on, yeah.
So, which I no foreshadowing here, but I'm sure that'll end up on one of our lists at least. But I'm thinking we'll have at least two in common on here. But I know we talked going into this, and you were saying you wanted yours to be a bit more representative of different kinds of things. I was going that way initially, but then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put my favorites. The hell with it. So, that being said,
actually, I did do that for the top three. I had a specific purpose for them.
Okay, well, let's get into it. What's your number five?
And then 5 was going between like 5 or 6 movies.
Yeah, okay.
But I decided to go with, am I going first or you going first?
You go first.
This time. Okay, I decided to go with Ad Astra.
Ah, okay. I haven't even seen that yet.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. Another Brad Pitt movie.
Okay, yep. Okay. And isn't Tommy Lee Jones like his father or something in the movie?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So a good cast. And the whole thing is he wants to go rescue his father, and they don't want him to do it. Okay. But it's got like a lot of real cool space stuff in it. Mm-hmm. You know, there is action scenes. Mm-hmm. So it turns out and Ad Astra is Latin for, in case you don't know. You don't know, right?
No, I don't.
See, now if you watch the Dragon liftoff with the astronauts, they said Ad Astra multiple times, and they told you now. So you didn't do that. You watched little. And you miss the essence of everything. But
yes.
That's okay.
Yes. It is okay. I didn't waste an entire morning of my day.
I know. I know you're busy, doing stuff. Anyway, it means to the stars.
Ah, okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
So I heard that the effects especially were really good in the movie, making it look realistic and so forth, and that it was kind of a different take on space movies. So that's cool that you included that. Obviously not on my list. So so my number 5, which I'm sure is probably not on yours since yours is more well-rounded, is Return of the Jedi.
Yes, and you knew that was not going to be on mine.
Yes. So it is. So
let's do the previous discussions.
Yeah, and so I almost didn't put it on there, knowing that it's not going to make our combined list anyway. But I love it. I mean, just for the opening sequence at Jabba's palace, which obviously has nostalgic value we used to play the Sail Barge Assault song in the car all the time, the John Williams score. And then, of course, Ewoks, which I love them. You don't like them as much, which I understand. But also the whole thing with Luke and Darth Vader, and not to give the ending away, but Vader's change at the end of the movie is very cool.
Yeah, it was like a reunion.
Right.
Like they usually do at the end of every movie series.
Exactly. Yeah, they wrapped up that trilogy very nicely, even though it's not my favorite in that. So that kind of tells you where my top 5 is going. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is The Right Stuff.
Ooh, also not on my list. Okay. Yeah, and I've only seen that I think once a long time ago.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it a couple of times. I haven't seen it recently,
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, I mean, it was a real good movie. It was about the how the astronauts were trained, and then the Apollo 13 mission, which you
Hmm.
know turned out to be a failure of getting to the moon, but a real boost for the United States
Hmm.
because they were allowed to bring them back. I think I can say this because everybody should know what Apollo 13 was all about. So
Houston, we have a problem.
I don't think anybody doesn't know the ending to this.
Well, yes, that's very true. And yeah, I considered Apollo 13 for my list. Would have made my top 10 probably. But that Right Stuff is another great choice. And Ed Harris was great in that, as he is in all movies, really.
Right.
Really good cast. It was a long movie though, right? Like close to 3 hours,
Yes, it
or
was.
yeah.
It was a very long movie.
Yeah, that's probably why I didn't rewatch it. But hey, I've got a couple long ones on my list here. The next one, not so much, but my number four, which you may not think it qualifies, we'll see. But I picked Aliens.
And you should have made it a number five if you didn't think it qualified.
Yeah,
So you're saying aliens or you're saying alien?
Aliens, the sequel, which I
Okay.
think both movies are great, but I liked this. I think Aliens is probably one of the best sequels of all time, directed by James Cameron, and of course Sigourney Weaver reprising her role as Ripley, and
Superman.
Bill Paxton. Yeah, that Game Over, man. Who can forget that? The late great Bill Paxton. Almost is more like a war movie in a way than a space movie,
Yeah, it
but
was a lot. It was a lot more aliens, and
yes.
they were easier to kill.
Right, right. And then, but it is set in space on a different planet, mostly indoors though. But
Yeah, I think it qualifies.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I was having more problems with doing movies like Contact, which
Ah,
which could be considered a space movie, but they had that gap in the government. The whole thing was did they travel to a wormhole to another planet or not? That type of thing. So it was movies like that I was having more problems with on whether or not I would add that, but I chose not to.
yeah, I would have. If you put Contact, I totally would agree that qualifies. But yeah, I mean, space is a very vast thing in more
Yes,
ways than one.
yes,
So
exactly.
okay, well, so now we're at what's your number three?
My number three, Wrath of Khan.
Ah, okay. Also not on my list, but I'm not surprised. Yeah.
And the reason why I chose that and why it's that high up is because of what it did for the franchise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody wanted a Star Trek movie, all the Trekkies wanted one, and then they got one. They got Star Trek the movie, which was like a total bomb. It was like totally not what Star Trek was about. It was this long, boring, drawn out voyage.
Yeah.
Actually, if they didn't draw it out so far, the story would have made some sort of sense. I mean, they basically did the same thing with that movie as what they did with The Fifth Dimension. It had like the same kind of ending almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, Wrath of Khan definitely got all the Trekkies back on board and
Yeah.
action packed.
And it started, another 5 sequels, not counting the Picard ones, and not counting the new series that came out. So it spawned all these other Star Trek. It kept Star Trek alive in the movies, and I did it because I thought it was an important film, not necessarily like it. And I've seen Wrath of Khan so many times.
Yeah, it's a classic, and I think most people would argue probably the best of the at least the original series.
Right. And the New Star trilogy, they brought Khan back.
Yeah.
Also, so Khan was in another movie too.
Oh, that's true.
And that was an interesting take on Khan also.
Right, because in that one, Spock yells Khan instead of Kirk.
Yeah,
so,
right. Because the new trilogy of Star Trek is like an alternate universe thing.
Exactly. But so my number 3 is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes. I think that was one of my number 5s that I kept playing with. One of my 8 number 5s.
Wow. I'm surprised it didn't even make your top 5 list.
No, it didn't. And the only reason why it was because even though the movie was widely hailed and Kubrick got a Best Director for it, it was too abstract.
Yeah, I mean, to this day, I couldn't tell you exactly what happens at the end. I think hardly anybody could. But, the way that it's one of those movies that makes you think the more times you see it about different things, especially how it starts out with the dawn of civilization with the prehistoric man. And then it's like man versus man. They create the weapon. And then it just all of a sudden goes to space, and then it's man versus machine, and the whole thing with Hal, the computer, is really frightening. It turns into kind of a horror movie in a way.
Well, it was like it was artificial intelligence at its worst. So
right.
When this movie was made, there was like a lot of things written about artificial intelligence and whether or not artificial intelligence could, destroy mankind. And that's where the Terminator movies came out of. And then, you had a couple of other ones that did the same thing. And then Asimov came out with his 5 rules on how robots should behave, which I'm not going to go into what they are. But
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, I want to say that Kubrick was way ahead of his time. I mean, this came out in like 68, I think, and the effects are like amazing to this day. So really cool.
Yeah, actually, I think it was based on a short story that Arthur C. Clarke wrote. It wasn't even a book. It was like a short story that it was based on.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess overall it had, good ideas from where we were about space about that time. Mm-hmm. So, I guess it would be like, the hope of mankind, going from primitive man that didn't have a weapon until they got the black thing there.
The monolith, yeah, it's kind of about evolution in a way, I suppose.
And it was like every time the monolith appeared in the movie, something else happened to spur mankind along.
Right. Didn't Pop say something funny after he saw that movie for the first time?
This was probably the only time that I can remember that I saw a movie with my two parents together.
Okay.
Yeah, so they took me to the movie,
Yeah.
and I think I just graduated college because of what his remark was. So we saw the movie, and after the movie, he said to me, he goes, "Okay, so you're the college graduate. What did that movie mean?"
Yeah, classic. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and still today we still couldn't tell him if we tried.
I know. I mean,
But
because he was a theater manager, he's constantly seeing the movie. So we
right.
never really saw a movie together. You know, that was probably the only one.
Wow, that's
Well,
surprising.
yeah, when we were little kids going to the movies, yeah, he would bring us to the movies. And then
Yeah.
every once in a while we'd come down, by our seats and sit with us for like maybe 10 minutes and then go back to work, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about that, but yeah. That's cool though that was the one movie. So what's
Yeah.
your what's your number two?
My number two, Empire Strikes Back.
Ah, okay. That is on my list, I will say. Slightly higher, giving it away for me, but yeah, of course.
We're on two, so slightly higher.
Hey, I think it's the best sequel of all time.
Yes.
It expanded upon the Star Wars universe, and
It solidified the first Star Wars movie.
yeah,
If Empire came back as a subpar movie to the first movie, and Star Wars probably would have died right there. But
no, right.
because it was a better movie than the first one, a lot more action scenes, a lot more intrigue.
The locations of the action scenes were really cool too. The
Right.
Hoth planet, Cloud City.
Yeah, Lucas could spend more money on special effects, which he couldn't do in the first movie.
Right. And yeah, it was way more imaginative, like all the locations, the new people that were introduced, like Boba Fett into the movie. Of course, the Darth Vader, the big reveal towards the end of the movie, which I'm sure everyone knows by now. But if you haven't seen Empire Strikes Back, I mean, what's wrong with you? It's so amazing. And of course, the love story with Han and Leia is great. The score, they added, because the first Star Wars did not have the Imperial March theme yet. And that was added into Empire Strikes Back. So,
Right,
like,
which is probably one of the most recognized, besides the opening music in every Star Wars film. But
right.
yeah.
Oh, and Yoda, who could, I mean, come on, man. Best.
Yoda am I?
Do or do not, there is no try. So many quotable lines. Oh, to this day, like sometimes if Katya says I love you, instead of saying I love you back, I'll say I know, like Han Solo. And yeah, just everything's great about the movie. I think that's one of the things that people sometimes forget, especially about the original Star Wars trilogy, is the drama in the movie was so good. It didn't even really matter that it was set in space. That was just like the extra dressing on it.
Right.
But cool.
Yeah,
so
it's a movie.
So my number two is Star Wars: A New Hope. And obviously Empire Strikes Back is my number one. But yeah, so I have 3 out of my 5 are the original trilogy Star Wars movies. This is probably a good time to mention some of my honorable mentions that I was thinking about as my number 5. And those would be more recent movies. Like you picked Ad Astra. I would have picked either The Martian or Interstellar.
Again, Interstellar was like too abstract.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the other one?
The Martian, the Matt Damon
Yeah, The
movie.
Martian was one of the ones I was uh, uh, thinking about also. Also, Gravity.
Right. Okay.
Okay, but
Sure.
to me, both of those, uh, even though they were in space, they they seemed a little stretch on the survival part.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
in both of those movies. So I thought that they failed in those areas,
Right.
but they were good movies. I like the
Yeah.
fact when in The Martian he was on the moon and he was surviving on the moon. It was the end that I thought was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And as with the end in Gravity, I thought was kind of ridiculous. So that's why I chose Ad Astra over those. Another
okay.
movie that I was thinking about and doing as number five,
Mhm.
Starship Troopers.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one. That
Yeah, that was a good one. I
I
know.
didn't even think of that.
It's just like it was like Major League.
Yeah,
You
like
know, you did,
almost a spoof on space movies in a way. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, so those were my honorable mentions. But Star Wars, the original from 1977, I mean, come on, this is the one that started it all. So I had to have that at least uh, also on my list, as well as Empire. But I mean, what can you say? As we said on the top five Spielberg, it wasn't the first blockbuster, that was Jaws, but this was certainly one of those movies that just created a whole movement of other movies after it.
And
Um,
based on the other movies that came before it,
mhm.
and not just like space movies or whatever. I mean, it was like all of a sudden you had this level of movies, and then you had Star Wars, and it
Yeah,
was like,
a whole
wow,
other level.
yeah, a whole other level.
And I
And he
think,
didn't
yeah,
have the special effects that he wanted to do, like we said before.
right.
So,
Yeah, it was somewhat low budget for that time. Lucas was not that well known. I mean, he had only done like American Graffiti and THX 1138 by that point. So, um, the story is great, which he based on, a lot of older hero mythical stories, but it's one that never gets old. You got Luke Skywalker, you got Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi
yeah,
as the only hope.
right, yeah.
Awesome.
Obi-Wan is the teacher, Luke is the student.
Yeah, and Han Solo, who is my favorite character in the whole universe as the cynical guy that doesn't believe in the Force. And
Right, and you have the pseudo religion, so that's like the myth,
right,
you know.
yeah. So I'm very curious now to see what your number one is.
My number one is Alien.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I did not exactly see that coming, but cool.
Yeah, and the reason everybody goes, no, Aliens is better than Alien. Some people say Alien is better than Aliens. I mean, they were both great movies,
Yeah.
but the thing was, Alien was the one that started it, and I think to me, Aliens was more like a killing machine type thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I like the kid in Aliens.
right, right.
But
Yeah, Newt and the little girl in Aliens.
yeah, but in Alien, it was more suspenseful.
Yeah, I mean, talk about I mean, that's more like a horror film, basically. The tagline was "In space, nobody can hear you scream," I think, or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
But
So, and Weaver was like excellent in that. And I mean,
yes,
she was a very young actress at that point, too.
yeah, and at that
Uh,
time, there weren't really many like badass female actresses, killing off these creatures in other movies. That was a new thing.
And it was only one creature.
Right. And it was just picking them off one by one.
Right, picking them off one by one.
And you didn't see it much for most of the movie, except, when it was the baby alien and pops out of the guy's stomach.
Shooting around.
Oh, that is so creepy, man.
And when it was born.
Right.
That was like...
Yeah, there was never a scene like that. Supposedly, when they filmed that scene, when it popped out of John Hurt, I think is the actor, the other actors were not aware exactly of what was going to happen. The director, Ridley Scott, just gave them kind of an idea, but he didn't explain how gory and how much blood was going to come out. So the actors' reactions were kind of legitimate of them freaking out. So but that movie is one of the scariest movies ever. I love the part too where Tom Skerritt, where he goes out to try and find it, and they've got him on the radio, and you hear it getting closer, and he does, but he can't see it, and then all of a sudden it's on him,
Right, and then that bathroom scene between Weaver and the alien.
Right. Yeah, totally. Just cool. Like even to the last second when you think it's gone and then it's not, and oh my God. A great cast too. Who's the other guy? Ian Holm as the kind of as the Paul Reiser character of the first movie, kind of the infidel.
The robot guy.
Yeah, the android guy.
Yeah,
cool. Well, I think that's a cool number one for sure. When did that come out? That was like 79, right? Somewhere around the end of the 70s.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact.
Okay, so this is going to be a cool list actually combined, because I think Empire has got to be number one, because I had it at 1 and you've got it at 2. I think so your number 1 was Alien, so that's got to be number 2.
Right.
And then my number 2 was Star Wars: A New Hope, so we'll put that at 3. So then the 4 and 5 spot, we're going to have to argue for our number 3s. So you got 2001, and you got Wrath of Khan. So what do you think should be above the other?
I think Wrath of Khan should be above 2001, only because it was too abstract.
All right, I'll concede. And yeah, I mean, Star Trek does need to be
well, actually, we can go with we can compromise and put the right stuff there.
The Right Stuff, but Right Stuff is your number 4 though, so it's not even gonna make it. Sorry.
That's fine.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna do the official reading of the list. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. At number 5, 2001: A Space Odyssey. At number 4, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. At number 3, Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. At number 2, Alien. And at number 1, Star Wars Episode 5: The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bad list. I dig it.
Yeah.
I think everyone should go watch that entire list right now, all 5 movies back to back. That would take all day.
Based on our last one, I had to watch Moneyball over again because said she didn't see it. I said, yeah, you saw it. Then she's watching and goes, oh, yeah, I saw it.
Maybe it was one of those where she fell asleep during it the first time. You never know.
Well, I mean, she misses a lot of endings to movies.
Katya does the same thing. If she makes it through the first 5 minutes, I know we're golden.
We saw
So
we saw Star Trek 3 in the movies, and she fell asleep in the movie while that was on.
what? Star Trek 3 is awesome, man.
I know.
I love Search for Spock. Actually, I thought of Search for Spock for my list. It would probably be on my top 10. But we'll have to eventually do our top 5 Star Trek movies. That'll be a good one. But I'm thinking, I know we talked about this with everything going on in the world right now. It feels kind of like, in some ways, the 60s all over again. And we're 60 years out from 1960 right now. So it felt appropriate to do the top 5 movies of the 1960s next week.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. There's a lot of different kinds of movies. I think I've already got my list narrowed down for the most part. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm
I didn't even look yet. I can't remember that far back. To the 60s, and I am.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting when we get into other decades too down the road.
I mean, in the 60s, I was still in grammar school.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, I did not exist.
Born.
Yeah. That's right. So that'll be good. Yeah, I think there's not really, I'm sure there's other honorable mentions of space movies that.
Oh, I do have one.
Yeah.
It's a TV series that's not really on TV anymore. Actually, it's on Amazon Prime right now. And they had 3 seasons on regular TV, regular cable TV. I can't remember which channel it was on. And then Amazon took it over because they dropped it. But the name of the series is The Expanse.
Okay.
And actually, it's a really good space movie. It's to the point now where Earth has expanded. There's not only are the settlements on Mars, but Mars broke off from Earth, and they have their own spaceships and their own army and stuff like that. And then there's another area called the Belters, and those are the ones that mine in the asteroid belt. And yes, so and there's a 4th thing that occurs that is the theme of all the episodes, and then it creates a rift between Mars, Earth, and the Belters.
Okay.
Almost causing a war between the thing, but it's good because it's like because people were living and born on Mars, they can't function on Earth.
Right.
So none of them very rarely go back there because of the difference in the gravity. And the Belters is like their own, and they have their own little gibberish English that they speak and stuff like that. It's really, really a really good space movie.
Okay. But so you said, is it a series or so it's a show?
It's a series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
With about 10 episodes a season. So they finished, I think, season 4, and they'll be shooting for number 5. It's based on a series of books. I can't remember who the author was.
Very good.
Okay. I think he wrote like 9 books. So I still got a ways to go yet.
Okay, cool. Well, good list as always. I will see you on the next one.
Yes. Same time, same station.
Yeah, live long and prosper.
Yes. I can never do that. Barbara can do it. I can't do it.
I can barely do it.
Put my finger in the middle.
All right. I'll see you on the next one.
Okay.
Love you.
Love you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.